You waited years for them to make things simpler. Just one card. When your new integrated health plan card for those eligible for both Medicare and Medicaid, known as a D-SNP plan, finally arrived, a coverage issue left you struggling for nearly 3 weeks to refill an essential heart medication. You sat at the kitchen table staring at the empty orange bottle, realizing that the one thing you were always proud of, being the person who kept every number exact and every account in balance, no longer mattered. The system had turned the simplest thing into a quiet, daily humiliation you couldn't fix. This is exactly what happened to Eleanor Park. She is 65 years old. She is a widowed accountant living in Seattle. For 28 years, she built her entire sense of self on being the precise one, the organized one, the person who balanced everything to the cent and kept life under control. People who knew Eleanor well had learned to recognize her anxiety by a small habit. Whenever something worried her, she would bite her lower lip without even noticing. On the corner of her desk sits her late husband David's empty coffee mug. She has not moved it since the day he died. That mug is still there because moving it would mean admitting one more thing is gone. She waited years for the integrated D-SNP card. The letters said it would finally make everything simpler. One card instead of juggling Medicare, the state Medicaid plan, and the pharmacy rules. She believed it because she had spent 28 years believing that if you followed the rules and kept the records clean, the system would eventually work with you. She sat at her kitchen table with quiet hope. She placed the envelope beside a stack of neatly organized tax folders. Then she carefully opened it. For a few minutes, she actually believed that this one piece of plastic would let her stop worrying. Then she started calling pharmacies. The first one said the card was not showing up in their system. The second one said to give it 24 hours. The third one put her on hold for 31 minutes and then told her to call the plan. She called the plan. She was transferred 3 times. Each person gave her a different answer. One said, "Wait 48 hours." Another said there was a redetermination hold, which is a temporary freeze while they check her Medicaid eligibility, still processing. She asked if her heart medication would be covered. The woman on the line said she should try the pharmacy again in a day or 2. Eleanor hung up the phone and looked at the empty orange bottle on the table. She had been carefully stretching the small supply she had left while trying to resolve the coverage problem. She had never been in a situation like this before. She felt a hot wave start at the base of her neck and rise up behind her ears. She had felt embarrassment before when a client found an error she missed, but this was different. This was not a mistake she had made. This was something she could not fix, no matter how many times she checked the numbers or followed the instructions. She decided to go to the pharmacy in person. She drove her old Camry across town. It was 7:50 in the evening when she pulled into the parking lot. The lights were bright overhead. She parked in her usual spot near the back. She took the prescription and the new card inside. The pharmacist was kind.
"I'm sorry, Ms. Park. I've tried both systems. You've been coming here a long time. I wish I had a better answer for you."
He scanned the card again. The screen flashed red.
"I'm still getting a rejection."
Can you tell me what's wrong with it?
"I wish I could. We've been seeing issues with some of the new cards."
So what am I supposed to do?
"You may need to call the plan again."
She thanked him. She walked back to the car. She sat in the front seat with the engine off. She held the card in her hands. She slid it through the little machine on the door one more time, just to see.
I am sliding it again. The light turns red. Declined. I waited for this card. I sent every form they asked for. I kept every record the way I always have. And now I cannot even fill the one prescription I need. My hands are shaking against the steering wheel. I used to be the one who had everything under control. Look at me now, sitting in this car, hoping a piece of plastic will let me stay alive.
Back home, she looked at the empty orange bottle. Rachel had offered to help many times before, but Eleanor still could not bring herself to ask. For several days, she went through the motions of her quiet life. Then one night, she decided to do what she had always done when something did not make sense. She started checking the numbers herself.
I am laying everything out on the table. The card, the letters, the old calculator. The routine feels familiar even if nothing else does. Rachel called earlier today. She offered to help. I told her I was still working through it. The answers are not here yet. But for the first time in days, I am doing something other than waiting.
She worked until almost 2 in the morning. Nothing changed. The next pharmacy attempt failed again. Days passed. The notes on her table grew thicker, but the coverage problem remained unresolved. Then Rachel called.
Mom, did the pharmacy finally run it through?
They're still working on it.
That's what you said last week. You know I can help with this, right?
I know.
Then let me...
It's not that simple.
Mom, you've been saying that for weeks.
Eleanor looked away from the screen. Rachel sighed.
Mom, this isn't something you have to carry by yourself.
I've been handling it.
For 3 weeks. That's not handling it anymore.
Before Eleanor could answer, Mia appeared beside her mother on the video call.
Grandma?
Hi, sweetheart.
Did the card come?
It did.
Then you're still coming to my play, right?
I'm still planning to be there.
Good. I already told my teacher.
After the call, she walked to her home office, opened the Plan app, and began comparing every document she had collected. For years, that kind of careful review had helped her solve problems. This time, it only revealed more contradictions. The card showed active. The pharmacy showed declined.
I am scanning the card through the app again. The screen still says active. I write the word down on the paper and stare at it for a moment before moving to the next line. Mia keeps coming back into my thoughts tonight. She asked such a simple question. She wanted to know if the new card meant I could finally come to her school play like I promised. I told her yes before I even thought about it. I wanted the answer to be yes. I wanted it to be true. I am looking at the date of the play written on my calendar. It is circled in blue ink. I remember how excited she sounded on the call. She was already talking about where I should sit and how she would wave when she walked onto the stage. I make another note on the paper. Tomorrow I will try again. Maybe I will call Rachel. Maybe I will finally let her help. Tonight, I am just sitting here looking at that date on the calendar and hoping I can keep the promise I made to my granddaughter.
The audit did not solve the problem, but it gave her something she had been missing, a record. Instead of relying on memory, she began documenting everything: dates, reference numbers, names, explanations. She sat at the desk for a long time after the last checkmark. The audit had not made the card work at the pharmacy the next morning. It had not removed the hot shame from her neck or the cold feeling from her fingers, but it had given her back a small piece of the ground that had shifted under her feet in that parking lot. The next morning, Rachel called again. This time, Eleanor finally told her everything. After listening for several minutes, Rachel suggested contacting the local state health insurance assistance program, known as the SHIP office. A few days later, she called the SHIP office in her county. She told them everything: the 19 days, the declined screens, the confusion on every call. The woman at SHIP listened.
You kept notes on every call?
Yes, exactly.
Dates and reference numbers too?
Every one of them.
Good. That gives us something we can work with.
Thank you.
Over the next few days, the counselor discovered that Eleanor's enrollment records had not fully synchronized during the transition to the integrated plan. The card itself was active, but part of the coverage information had not updated correctly in the pharmacy system. It was the first clear answer she had heard in weeks. For the first time, someone seemed interested in the details she had been carefully documenting. She made notes. She made calls on Eleanor's behalf. Within a week, the coverage was straightened out and the medication could be filled again. Eleanor went to the pharmacy. The card worked. She came home and refilled the orange bottle. She placed it on the shelf where it belonged. Then she went to the roll-top desk. She performed the card versus reality audit again. Not in panic. Not with the same grinding fear. With a heavy, wary steadiness. She knew now that being careful and competent no longer guaranteed safety. The ritual at the desk remained, not as a solution to the system, as the last thing she could still fully trust when the system showed her it. Could not be trusted. You waited years for them to make things simpler. Just one card. Well, Eleanor's story shows what happens when the one thing you counted on to protect the ordinary parts of your life suddenly stops working. The routine she created at the roll-top desk did not fix the card overnight. It did not remove the permanent wariness she now carries. What it did was give her back a small piece of the precise, methodical self the system had tried to take from her. She still reviews the folder each week. The pharmacy receipt from that refill is still tucked inside, just in case. She still feels a wave of discomfort when she thinks about the 19 days the bottle stayed empty. But she also knows she can return to her own way of creating order even when the larger order has failed her. Here is what stays with me from Eleanor's story. Sometimes the careful records you kept your whole life stop being enough. That is not a failure of your character. It is a failure of the system that promised simplicity and delivered new forms of daily humiliation. Going back to the old habits of checking and cross-checking can give you back a piece of yourself even when nothing else is working. Asking for help does not erase the competence you spent decades building. It simply means the problem has grown larger than one person's careful records can contain. The quiet rituals we keep at our own desks or kitchen tables can become the last place we still feel steady when everything else feels uncertain. Many people describe similar experiences when coverage problems interrupt essential care. You are not alone in it, and you are not foolish for feeling the weight of it. If this story feels familiar, here are the concrete steps Eleanor eventually took and that you can take too. First, gather every letter, notice, and denial in one single folder, the same way she cleared her kitchen table and laid everything out. Do it tonight if the card has already given you trouble. Second, call your local SHIP office this week. Tell them exactly what is happening with the integrated card. SHIP counseling services are generally provided at no cost to beneficiaries. Third, begin keeping a simple written record of your card status, pharmacy responses, and plan communications. Fourth, keep a simple log of every phone call you make about the card. Log details, date, time, name of the person you spoke with, and exactly what they told you. Eleanor's habit of writing everything down helped the SHIP counselor move her case forward. Fifth, do not wait until the bottle is completely empty before you start the process. Begin the moment you see the first declined screen. Sixth, choose one small object that reminds you of who you were before this problem arrived. Eleanor kept David's mug on the corner of the desk. Let that object stay in your line of sight while you do the careful work. It will steady your hands when the shame tries to make them shake. Seventh, if the quiet humiliation starts to feel too heavy to carry alone, remember that this is happening to careful, competent people all across the country right now. The shame is real. The isolation is real. And reaching out for help is also real. If any part of Eleanor's story is happening to you right now, please reach out to your state's SHIP program. They helped her get the coverage restored, and they can help you too. You do not have to figure this out by yourself. This story reflects issues some beneficiaries report during integrated D-SNP transitions and coverage coordination changes. This story is presented for educational and illustrative purposes only. Eleanor Park is a narrative composite character created from themes, situations, and experiences commonly reported by Medicare beneficiaries. Names, personal details, and circumstances have been modified for privacy and storytelling purposes. This content does not constitute medical, legal, financial, insurance, or tax advice. Medicare and Medicaid rules vary by state, plan, and individual circumstances and may change over time. Always verify information directly with your health plan, your state's SHIP program, or another qualified professional before making decisions about coverage, benefits, or health care. The situations described in this story may not reflect every beneficiary's experience and should not be interpreted as a guarantee of future outcomes.